What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about Rocco Zikarsky, right? He is actually on many mock drafts right now, projected to go to the Lakers with the 55th pick in the draft. Lakers have the 55th pick, for those that weren't aware. I don't think he goes that far. He has been really good at the draft combine. His stock, based on recent reports, are really have him rising. I think he's a guy that if the Lakers are going to want to get and acquire, they're probably going to have to go and trade and kind of either move up in the draft or just buy a second round pick at some point in this upcoming draft, right? So there are options to get him. I still don't think he's going to fall into the first round just because of how deep this draft is. This draft is looked at as one of the deeper drafts in a very long time. And I just think, there's still a lot of questions about Rocco that I just think teams will kind of let him fall to the second round. But you never know, right? We've seen stranger things happen. We've seen guys fall. We've seen guys take huge climbs, right? He's a guy that is very impressive just on the surface. Talk about a guy that's 7'3" without shoes. So barefoot, right? Usually, guys are 7'3", but really they're like 7'1", and it's like, oh, they just grow 2 inches with shoe where they're wearing high top, right? Or platform shoes, right? But no, he's 7'3" without shoes, and he has a 9'6" standing reach, which is insane. Right. So you want to talk about a lob. The guy can dunk just standing, right? The guy doesn't even need to have any jumping ability or anything like that. He's incredibly young, which is very beneficial for, development upside. He's 18 years old. He'll be 19 in July. So he's a guy that is just, again, very talented, very young, very versatile, could be a real growth and development big. I don't know if he'd be a guy that the Lakers could start this year or anything like that. Again, probably more of a development guy, a little raw, but he is one of those guys that has shown the ability to do a little bit of everything out there on the basketball court. Make plays, stretch the floor a little slightly, defend at the rim, right? He's a guy that can block shots. He's 7'3", 227 pounds, roughly 228 pounds. Now his pro comparison is Donovan Clegan. You look at the pro comparisons that these experts and whatnot present. Donovan Clegan is what his pro comparison is. Well, look at where Donovan Clegan was taken in the draft, and also look at what his projections were. He was looked at as hey, he might be one of the better centers in the league. If you get a guy anywhere close to what Donovan Clegan was projected to be and projected to go as in the second round with the 55th pick, or even, the 50th pick or something like that, right? Even if you have to move up in the draft or you end up having to buy a pick, like I said, Lakers have a couple options there. If you can land Rocco, definitely a guy that I think that you should do, right? I would still, personally, for me, I'd still like to see the Lakers go and land a real, true starting center, right? And then go get a legit backup center and then kind of have Rocco operate as your third center so you can kind of wean him in, right? Obviously, if he just comes in and is immediately just unbelievably good and talented, right? Well, then, I think that you make that adjustment, you figure it out. It'd be a good problem to have, right? Let's say he is your third big, but anytime he gets 15, 20 minutes a night, right? Let's say every time he gets 20 minutes, he's giving you, 15 and 10 or something like that with 3 assists, a block, and a steal or something, right? Then, yeah, you kind of have no point. You kind of have to play him at that point in your primary backup. But I would like to see the Lakers go get, even if it's just a Clint Capella and, a Jericho Sims, bring those two in, have those two kind of be, your anchor as far as the center position go, and then have Rocco come in, bring him in as your development big that is 18, 19 years old, that gets kind of spot sparing minutes here and there, but also can kind of be a guy that you're growing and developing over the course of the next few years. So that way, say you sign, even we'll just use Clint Capella as an example. Say you sign Clint Capella on a 2-year deal. Hopefully by the time that contract expires, boom, Rocco's ready to jump in. He's ready to move in and be the starting center for you, and you're ready to go, right? So kind of take the pressure off of Rocco and what he can provide to this team. But one of the big things and one of the reasons he's probably going to fall is he suffered an injury. So He suffered a season-ending injury, again, he's looked at as a bit of a gamble, right? He's looked at as a bit of a gamble. You got to stay patient. You got to kind of grow and develop this guy. He's a guy that, like, if you're expecting him to come in today and move mountains for you, you're probably going to be a little disappointed. Now, look, you do have Luka, who probably could get him in the double figures, right, every night anyway, just again, his ability to be that lob threat. And the thing about Rocco is he is mobile, right? He shifts well, he moves his feet well, right? He's not like Donovan Clegan. Like, that's one of the things, particularly in college, is that he was able to kind of shift well, right? There's still questions about the NBA level and him and his impact defensively. Rocco is a guy that I think can and should be able to move well at an NBA level, stay in front of guys. Obviously, we need to see how he develops. Right now, he's not a guy I'd want defending in space, but he is a guy that you can see the potential of him being able to defend in the pick and roll, being able to kind of stay in front of guys a little bit, right? He's got that athleticism and that mobility that you want. He's not, like Jackson Hayes, freak athlete, where the dude, 40, whatever it is, inch vert or whatever, right? Like, he's not like a freak athlete, but he's good enough to where he could be that defensive end. He could be that defensive presence for you. A guy that can come in, make plays out of the post, score around the rim, shown the ability to stretch out a little bit and maybe knock down the occasional three and whatnot. But, again, there are questions about him being will he be able to adapt to the modern game, right? He is, like, if this was 10, 15 years ago, he'd probably be one of the top prospects, right? Because he is he's closer to a traditional center, right? But again, he's 18 years old and he's shown the ability to do some of the other things. He's shown the ability to, again, kind of stretch the floor slightly. And we've seen guys develop and grow and be able to hit shots. And those overseas players are very fundamentally sound, right? He's a guy that is best you kind of dump the ball down to and kind of let him go to work, right? He's a guy that has skills that can do multiple things. Same thing with Donovan Clegan. Like, that was a knock with Donovan Clegan. That's why I do understand the comparison to Donovan Clegan, because, again, the question with Clegan was, like, is he a guy that can adapt to the modern NBA, right? Where you want the pace and space and, you want the big men that can defend in space and defend in the pick and roll and do all these things. Again, he's shown the sides. He has the mobility. He has a little bit of athleticism, but he's not that, like, I don't know if he'll ever be able to be that defensive anchor, right? I don't know if he'll ever be able to be that guy that's just this absolute monster on the inside, right? Like, as far as, like, defensive purposes go, right? I want to make that clear. But I do think he's a guy that can absolutely be and has the upside and potential to be one of the better centers, one of the better contributors in the league. He's going to have a guy, assuming the Lakers land him, he's going to have a guy in Luka that's going to make him look good. Right? He's a guy that's going to be able to kind of put him in position, in the best position possible, to have some success. I would like to see him, get a little more muscle, get a little more weight on him, right? Especially in the Western Conference, to be able to bang with the big boys, 227 pounds, right? Which is more than, Jackson Hayes, some of these other guys. I mean, even a Nick Claxton's like 215, right? So I do like that Rocco already at 18 is walking around at 227. Can you get him to like 240 range, 245 range, maybe another 15 to 20 pounds on him? Obviously you don't want to lose his best attributes. You don't want to lose what he can bring to this Lakers team. But if you can kind of get a little more weight on him over these next few seasons to where he can kind of be more physical and be able to bang with the big boys, I think that could go a long way for him, especially with his abilities in and around the rim, right? There's already injury concerns, right? But again, like, if you're getting him with the 55th pick, or you're getting him, you're buying a second round pick and you're getting him with like the 45th pick or something like that, anything in the second round, right? There are certain expectations. Like, if he was the 12th pick in the draft, right? There's a lot more expectations, and in particular, what you're expecting from him almost immediately than him being the 45th pick in the draft or the 55th pick, if he falls that far to the Lakers, right? Like, there's just, so I don't think you'd have to, there's not as much like, yes, there's risks to him, but the risk reward is far greater than if he was a first round pick, which is why I think he won't be, even though his stock is kind of rising, I don't think his stock's going to rise enough to the first. I mean, we've seen guys that have had a bit of an injury history fall late in the first round, and they were supposed to be, top 5 to 10 picks in the draft. Right? I mean, even Dalton Knecht, look how far Dalton Knecht fell, right? And he didn't have an injury history in that, and he's a hyper athlete and arguably the best shooter in this draft, right? So, you look at a guy like him, and he fell all the way to the Lakers, so you never know. Like, he's a guy that, he could fall undrafted. I don't think he will. I would be a little surprised if he does, because I just think he has the talent and the tools and the skill set that a lot of teams would want. Again, there are some questions about his skill set translating to the modern NBA, but if he's willing to work and he works hard, I think he can develop that 3-point shot. He's shown the ability to, spread out a little bit. I don't know how good he'd be as like a rim protector and defender in space, but if you have the perimeter help, right, and the perimeter defense, I think you'd be fine. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Rocco? Do you think stay away from Rocco? You kind of mixed in the middle? Either way, down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.